Have you got that? You've got no contribution. No, it's only open session.
They're actually quite brief. The minutes are quite brief.
I would like that. So welcome everybody. This is to the Democratic Services Committee. Today's the 18th of June, Wednesday 18th of June. I'd like to read out a quick note if I may. Today's meeting is being filmed for live and subsequent broadcast by the way of the Council's internet site. The images and sound recording may also be used for training purposes with the Council, as well as with being live, broadcast live. A recorded version of this remote meeting will be uploaded onto the Council website for public viewing as soon as possible after the meeting. Welsh translation of the proceedings can be provided upon request. Members dialing in remotely, please only turn on your camera when you wish to speak, and please remember to switch it off when you are finished. Also, could you ensure that you refrain from using any mobile devices during the committee and that any devices are set to silent. I also remind members to ensure that chat function is switched on and to use the facility to indicate to me when they wish to speak on a particular item. Please do not speak until I invite you to do so, and remember to unmute your microphone and switch on your camera thereafter. Thank you very much. For the agenda today, have we got any apologies?
Councillors Tim Harvey and Bedford Extra.
Indeed, lovely. Anybody else got any apologies anywhere? No? So we got a declaration of interest. Any at all? No? So we got the minutes of the previous meeting. And there's who wants to only runs through that there. So
Although if you're asking for my advice, Chair, the minutes of the meeting will have been circulated with the meeting papers. It's for somebody to propose on second and then accept them. If any member of the committee wishes to comment on the accuracy of the minutes, then they may do so at this stage.
So given that advice, so obviously, have you got a second proposal second, or would you like to discuss some points on the last
I
meeting?
think it's really matters arising.
Yep. So can we have a proposal second for
The accuracy of minutes.
so we're on the minutes of previous meeting.
Well, yeah, that what is written there.
Yeah.
So are we proposing?
What, the accuracy of the minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, to the best of my memory, yes.
Yeah, we got a second to go
I
on.
second it.
So obviously then, we'll move on to, are we going to move on to the constitution updates presentation, or do you want to do the discussion? Yeah, matters arising. Do you want to do the part?
If I might, Chair, matters arising, and requesting have we carried out.
So matters arising now. Where do we go with that, Mike?
Well, that's noted.
So
With respect, Chair, to account, I do think it's a really important issue here, and that is that voting committees that have the central role to play the work of the council, in obviously scrutinising the work of the council, coming to various conclusions about the effectiveness of it, etc., etc. And I don't think we can just skirt over the fact that the last meeting made a series of recommendations, and particularly under item 6, which was that we wanted a written report rather than a verbal report at this meeting, that we recommended a report summarising the major changes to the Constitution. Now, that seems to me to imply that we didn't want a list of suggested changes to the model constitution. Presumably, that sentence only makes sense if we're talking about amending the existing constitution and changes to that. And so these are really, I think, important issues, which the committee felt would put us in a position to be able to recommend that the amended constitution was really what we as members felt was appropriate. And to ignore this minute, it just seems to, well, anyway, it just seems to totally nullify the value of this committee and the work we do. If we're accepting now that, okay, we can have a meeting, make a list of decisions, but the next meeting we'll just forget those that didn't happen.
The feeling is that what you discussed last time is not been done correctly, or if they've been both coming back to you on the return of what you wanted.
It hasn't been action. That's what I'm saying. And until such time as the actions that this committee requested are carried out and reported back, it leaves us in a position that we cannot move forward.
So you're saying it wasn't sealed off or finished from the last meeting, you would have sent it with the information that you wanted, and therefore you say that you don't proceed with this meeting because you haven't closed off the last meeting?
Yes.
Well, we did think we closed it. As we understood it, we were clear on these things.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, there seems to be even the first point on 6, the first bullet point, committee requested that a written report is brought to the next meeting rather than a verbal update. Well, you know, we all agreed that. But actually, you know, I also printed out the presentation. I don't think that that a PowerPoint slides is the same as having a written report.
Am I wrong in thinking with the presentation we're listening to today of my section of the officers, the PowerPoint is precise, it's going to be presented, and then we'll have a discussion or questions Q&A afterwards. You wanted it.
I'm sure we will have discussions on it.
But you wanted a
Probably
written.
quite a few.
You want a written dialogue.
Well, I think if you, I mean, I don't know what your profession is, Councillor Jones, but I mean, you know, with a PowerPoint, what you're doing is getting across the points that you want people to remember or to learn from.
Right.
Now, that is not actually the same as having a written report, which will probably need to refer to other influences, you know, future trends maybe, or things that are anticipated. A PowerPoint is supposed to be just something brief. It's actually at 24 slides. I mean, people know that this is brief, you know.
No, PowerPoint in my industry is powerful. It's used a lot. It does well for the fluency of the meeting, and then basically everybody digests it and has ideas and questions thereafter. The whole point is slick. It's to the point. It draws attention, and it highlights the facts that would need to be highlighted, discussed maybe thereafter. I use it a lot at work, so I'm quite okay with it. Written reports in my industry, that doesn't really happen. It's not that way inclined. I can understand what you're saying. You would like a written report, but to be fair, I'm okay with the slides, I must admit.
Sorry, Chair. I think we need to put this to the votes. I move that as the actions required by the previous meeting have not been carried out, we cannot proceed with this meeting.
I need a seconder for that, Councillor.
Okay, so being the new chair and trying to get the understanding, my address here today is to try and get through today's agenda. And is my understanding correct then that you want to put a hold on that until you get a written presentation on the last meeting, which means this will be abandoned on the budget?
No, not on the last meeting, about the proposals for this meeting.
Sorry.
Not about the last meeting, about the outcomes of the last meeting. You know, what we would see as a result of the discussions and the agreements at the last meeting.
Okay. So what they're saying there, and where are we with what they're suggesting?
Well, they can vote on that in a moment. There's been a proposer and a seconder. The committee can vote on it. What I would ask is that the committee takes a view on what it wants going forward, because we haven't resolved this issue, whether you want to work through the old constitution or whether you want to implement the model one. And actually, without knowing that, I'm going to really struggle to write a report that's intelligent.
Well,
You know, there needs to be a view of the committee on that I can take forward. Part of the trouble I'm having with these meetings is that there are so many different contributions. Nothing gets really resolved. I mean, the task and finish group You know, it wasn't really clear what the remit of that was. It wasn't clear who was going to be on it. It wasn't clear how you were going to achieve political balance without having every member of the existing committee on it. That didn't get action because there was a lack of clarity in that resolution. If you give me a clear resolution about what you want in the report, what direction you want to take this in, then I will go away and produce that. But clarity about this stage.
My understand, no, that's fine. My understanding coming here today was we're trying to build a new one. And we're going forward with the new model with some changes, and we're discussing the proposed changes. So we seem to be entrenched now with the last meeting and the old model, and we're still debating them too. So I'm a little bit, I don't know, quite confused at this point, but I thought we were going to go through the agenda and we'll be okay with it. But obviously, this step holding us back here. And sorry, Councillor Sterry is next in thinking.
All I was going to say was in reply to Mike, was that basically we did have a vote on who's going to attend that subcommittee. We did put through the names, etc. Whether that got passed through or not, I don't know, but we did have all that in place. So on that element.
But the subcommittee, to me, looking at it from outside and coming in new, it's going to be the same people reviewing what we've discussed in previous meetings or in the current meetings going forward.
I think at the time, because it's such a huge report, we decided that we'd have representatives from each group, basically get involved with the subcommittee, understand it, and bring that information back. So it was.
So you look at subcommittee as two
we were
people.
trying to do it all within the meeting, and it was overwhelming us all at the time.
So a subcommittee of two people because
No, I think it probably would have ended up with everybody, actually, to be honest.
so
The point
the
was-
subcommittee of the same committee, this
Yeah.
is the same
We
thing.
was taking it out of this forum and trying to bring it into
Yeah.
another one so we could all understand.
But having a
this element
single
of it.
subject meeting as opposed to a whole stack of things, you know, it's about just about the constitution, because clearly you've obviously realised that this has been quite problematic. I mean, I thought that we got beyond this stage of do we still want a model constitution? I thought we decided no, we were going to keep with the old constitution, where the model constitution was nobody except perhaps the monitor officer really fully understands. You know, where he identified things which needed to be incorporated into the old constitution, then we would see them then. It would be a simpler way of doing it.
The new constitution with updates and etc. in theory is a model.
Yeah,
new model.
Do you know, we asked, is it necessary to mess with the constitution?
Mhm.
Because as members, we felt under a lot of pressure to get this signed off, if not before Christmas, then afterwards.
Mhm.
And we had to ask, what is the urgency with this? And I certainly understood that there was no urgency.
I think
That
it's
we
from a
didn't, there was
legality
no
point.
obligation to do this at all.
It's from a legality point of view, my understanding is legality point of view, it's a refresh button on it, bringing it up to date of the standards that we recall. And I think, you know, some of it or all of it or whatever, we've got to review it all because it's a package. The constitution is a package, complete package. So my understanding, looking at this coming in fresh, is we've got a new model, an updated constitution, whichever. Previous meeting should have said to the officers, we keep with the constitution and just do some legality, what's necessary by law to be updated, and we're not doing anything else. Or Mike's wasting his time in the committee, looking at all the options, running two parallel options, we're dissecting, picking bones on both of them, and we'll go around and
But we
whatever.
haven't been interested in that. We don't want to parallel. We just want to keep it as simple as possible. Now, you just said a complete package. No, this is what we think it's not.
Not
It shouldn't
constitution.
be. Constitution is not a complete package. It's a live document where you can change bits of it.
But when you start on page 1 and it ends on page 2000, that's the package. And then in there is sections that needs to be updated by legality reasons. All I'm saying to the package is we stick to the old one with legality updates. And that's what we want to do. Or Mike goes away in his best efforts with the team, look at what's legality on the new model with bits that we think we should adopt, because it's about adoption of good practice. And that's what we're trying to do as a council, represent the people with good
Well,
practice.
it's what is appropriate to Newport Council. and there may not be other people's best practice. It may not be something that's recommended widely, but it's vitally important.
We're all here to represent the
Yeah,
people.
absolutely, yeah. But that constitution needs to do that, and it doesn't mean that it's a ready-made off-the-shelf thing.
So my understanding is we're looking at two options coming to this meeting today, and now we're trying to say, we say that you want to go back to the original constitution, just with legality updates.
No, we haven't said that.
No,
We
I'm
have
saying,
said-
are you saying?
No, we have said we're prepared to take on board anything that needs to be changed, and that our understanding was it would be brought to us. You know, that I'm sure I remember this being, I should have watched the replay of it, shouldn't I?
So,
But
Sorry, Chair, this is getting really confusing.
I understood the legal officer said that there was the majority of it, we didn't have to even think about it. Wasn't, we could, because you said 2,000 pages.
I just,
Whatever. But we didn't have to think about most of it. But where there was a change needed, he would be aware of this and he would bring it to us.
okay, so if he, Mike or
Yeah, the polishing officer.
yeah, if you could keep that, because that's more professional, that'd be great. I think really speaking, I'm trying to be bold and upset every year. I would like to proceed with what Mike's got 2%. And I know you want to go back to written, I know you want to go
With
back.
due respect, you have a proposer and a second. Can you please take the vote?
Yeah, I think that's what we're gonna do, yeah. So, okay then, so just a clarification then, what are we proposing?
Until the requests and the decisions of the last meeting of this committee are carried out, we cannot further proceed with this item.
And the second was 8. So that leaves us with, where are we now?
You need to take a vote, Chair. No, you've got the proposal, so you need to take the vote on it. If there are any further comments.
I'm of interest, my hearing is not brilliant. So can we just repeat it, please? I'm sorry.
Proposing,
I think you made that.
Yes, so you've said that until the requests of the last committee are carried out, the proposal is that this meeting doesn't go ahead until those are carried out. Yeah.
and just to go for clarification, it's written. What the written
Yeah,
information.
because it does talk about the
And
minute.
is that what you both agreed on? Just for the last,
Yeah, what we requested in the last
That would be
meeting.
in a written report.
would that be your understanding for last week that you had to provide that for this meeting to go ahead?
All the resolutions provided written report. There was an observation that a written report would have been preferable. What I've tried to do is present the information in a way that's accessible and that gets the themes and ideas onto the table for discussion. A lot of, I think, if there's a suggestion that there's some kind of subversion by not producing a report. We've produced a PowerPoint because we genuinely thought that would be the way that would make it easiest for the committee to consume the information that we're trying to put across. That's the idea behind it. The committee wants to report, then take the vote on that and we'll produce it. As I say, I'm not sure what I'm going to put into that report when we still don't have any clarity, Chair, as to what direction the committee is recommending taking this.
So we'll take one more question.
Just make a comment. I completely sympathise with the point that's been made about, because officers should be able to go away and be clear about what it is we've decided. And to be quite honest with you, in my view, that's not been the case ever since I've been on this. Going back a good few meetings. So I think we've got to be clear at this meeting just what we're asking officers to do. Otherwise, it just isn't reasonable, I don't think, to behave in that way. I support the proposal that Councillor Ryan has made about going back to the recommendations at last meeting, but I think that what we need to do is, even if that is now agreed by the committee, I still think we need to be absolutely crystal clear, because I'm not sure I still am, about if we're asking the head of law and standards and his team to go away and write another report, that they know exactly what it is they're writing, whether they're writing a report that's actually, based on a model constitution, or whether we're asking them to go away and write something which looks at, amending the current constitution to bring it up to speed with, whatever legislative changes. Even if we pass this, I still don't think we're absolutely clear on that. I think we need to be reasonable to the officers.
Okay, my goal is this. We can go ahead with this meeting, look at the agenda, look at the power slides. I'm really happy with it. I'm happy to do that. However, we've now had the proposal and seconder to have a vote on a written report and not to go ahead until we've had the written report. My view is the written report is not going to give us much more than what we've got on PowerPoint, and we're not going to progress. So I'm quite frustrated with the committee and where we are at the moment. That's my chair's position. I believe we can go ahead and carry on with this meeting with power slides. I'm quite happy. However, certain members of the committee are not. So you're going to have a vote, and if this vote goes, you want the written report, I think that's the end of it. Is you have to go wait for the report before they can come. So we're going to miss opportunity. I'm sorry. Working my business, you want to get this. You want to get this right.
Excuse me, Chair. What's on the business we're talking about? Legality.
Yes, and as I was,
HR is a very slippery slope where you get the best
Yeah.
solution you possibly can.
yes,
We're looking about something that will hopefully carry this council forward for some years to come.
yes,
We've already discussed the bits that we've adopted, whether we want to or not. The monitoring officer brought some stuff to us last time and said, well, you've got to adopt this. We said, well, yeah, fine. And procurement was one of the.
some of it is law. You have to, yeah. And
that.
It's highlighted here in some bits of the discussion. So we're only going to discuss the bits that we got an option on, perhaps, and discussion. But the only reason I'm pointing out, like in business generally, is the PowerPoint system is usable, it's understandable. We seem to be bogged down with like the old. We keep in the old constitution, or we make a model constitution with the name. We want written reports over stuff that we discussed to read before we went to the next meeting. So we've stopped this meeting on PowerPoint slide, which is a good presentation. I've looked at it. I think it's understandable. It's readable. It's like we can all discuss. It's understandable. It's relative. I find that this is a little bit frustration in this committee.
Can I say, Chair, that you said if we pass this motion, it's the end of it. With respect, it's the end of the discussion on the minutes, but I still think, if we're saying that if we approve this motion, what we're saying is we're asking officers to go away and write the report. And
But I think, I'm sorry if I can interject there again. Also, you stick to your constitution one way.
well, exactly.
And we just throw some legality amendments to it, or how we looking to improve it and make it better for the citizens and people ourselves and the council.
But if we do ask officers to go away and write a report, I mean, to be fair to them, they need to know a report about what,
In the last meeting, I would imagine we discussed it.
It's clearly, Chair, you can see that this committee has got bogged down with this. Now,
Yes.
I thought 4 meetings ago we really expressed our unhappiness at being, we felt pushed into accepting a model constitution, which we'd never heard of what this double barrel name was. I can't even remember what his name was. What was his name? Frankie. That's right. I got to the point I don't want to hear of him again.
But at the previous meeting, you could bully or push or whatever.
No, I didn't use the word.
But it was,
It was strongly recommended.
why was it not stopped then?
Where's that in the minutes, Chair? I don't recall that with you being put to me.
I think really speaking,
It's not a discussion.
has been highlighted.
If we have
Chair, I'm got the legacy.
discussing the
I want the legacy. So I've come today hoping to get through this meeting today with the PowerPoint and go forward.
Chair,
We seem to be going further back.
the vote.
Yeah, if that is what is required. So we've got a proposal and a second. So the vote is, you want written minutes?
We want the actions carried out from the last minutes.
Right, okay, so can we have a vote on? So, it's a vote on.
All those in favour.
All those in favour, so yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Okay, Those against? So pretty much.
Trevor?
Oh, is he, sorry.
No, that's not.
Oh, sorry.
So I suppose with that then, is that concluded?
That will conclude the meeting, yes.
And what about going back to the legacy, which is even further back down, and the old constitution with updates legality against the new model, as we call it, the new model, or the updated model, whichever you want to call it, is a loose word on by sounds of it. Do you need an understanding on that? Obviously, you're going to go into words, and it's, to me, I don't think this could be so loose between the on new and old constitution at the moment. And I'm afraid the officer will need direction on that because everybody's wasting time here.
The monitoring officer brought this to us, I think we should agree 4 meetings ago. And he was asked, why do we need to have a new constitution? And I certainly said to him at the time, there's no hurry to do this. No, do it bit by bit, whatever you want. And as he's rightly said, some of it will be overtaken by legislation. But we've had some, if you recall, one of the initial issues was questions to the leader. We've resolved that. And the leaders have met, we understand. We get a report from what the leaders have said, which would help us to clarify the way forward for this committee. We are respectful of our leaders, that's why we appoint them.
You've had a lot of discussions on over points, and I can see where you've read the vote now, so that's concluded that. But today, you have an opportunity PowerPoint to go forward on another section, but we just put a full stop on it. So conversation wise, put a full stop. And looking at the committee and the officers, I honestly don't feel frustrated with the fact that they're not making progress. So I feel frustrated, sat here thinking, nothing's been progressed today, and we keep going backwards. Or it looks like the foundation is not set. This is what you say there. You want your constitution with just minimal update legality side of it, and that's pretty much where we want to be. I think really speaking to the officers, that's a bit unfair because they've got a role to.
If there's no legal obligation, then burning necessity to change the constitution.
So as chair, if I was listening open minded, I could say, why are you wasting time? Just do the legality side of the old one, and just that's it.
Well, so Chair, on that, there are things in the old constitution, the existing constitution.
Yes.
I'll rephrase that. The existing
It's
constitution.
different too. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I'd correct that straight away. There are things in the existing constitution which need addressing. I haven't addressed them because we've been working on implementing a new constitution. So what I don't want to do is get the new existing constitution all shiny and nice. Well, we're going to bring in another one to replace it. If you're, sorry, Councillor Cox, if you're saying actually we don't want to do anything with this model constitution, we want to not go ahead with that. We just want you to sort the existing constitution out. I'll get on with that. And we'll forget about the model constitution. But there is an urgency, and on your point, Councillor Ymddiheuriadau, there is an urgency in sorting out, in taking one of those paths, because there are things that are in the existing constitution that are out of date. And I mean, the existing constitution allows me to make, a lot of it's updating acts of parliament where the law's changed. It's not of any consequence. So I can go through and sort all of that out, and I can do that in the normal way, which is sort it out and bring a report to full council every time saying what I've done. That's what the existing mechanism allows for. If you want me to do that, I'll do that, and we'll forget about the model constitution, and we can move this committee on to discussing other things if that's what you would prefer. I'm not going to keep bringing this back if members don't want it.
No.
I think that's a valid point. If I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I think that's a valid point because my understanding is we're trying to get a new, better constitution. I think we've been listening to what the committee is saying is, no, we want to keep this one, just update it, let's move on to something else, because we're not really going to progress on option B because we all want option A. There's a tweak, and we're wasting officers' time and resources when they've got other things that they should be doing as well, and just present it to us. But I would say I don't see what's wrong with the agenda. I don't see what's wrong with what we've got in front of us today. We go through it. We always got a chance to question. We always got a chance to refer back if we have to. But today is the last meeting, previous meetings and discussion points, and it looks like you're saying the officers haven't done X, Y, Z, and yet it's nothing there concrete where they have to do X, Y, Z.
Within minutes.
But no, I'm just saying, no, but for this meeting not to go ahead, we could proceed.
We can't now be talking about it.
No, I said, looking at this observation from when I came in, we could have proceeded with this one today. But I think you're not for the new constitution, it's for
No,
the
because
existing.
you know,
I can tell.
yes,
We couldn't ask for it, Chair.
Paul,
It is about what's discussed.
So we had to have.
So my feeling is, it's never, it's nobody in this committee wants to vote or work with the committee on anything new, on an existing one, and make some amendments.
it will be new.
No, it'll be
It will be
updated.
updated. It
It's
will be
it's
relevant
the live
and
current
appropriate.
updated.
Yeah.
I think that what I'm listening to is that's all they want you to do.
Right, okay, can I just make, at risk of complicating things, there were two, it seemed to me there were two things we were looking at. We've got the current constitution, and we've agreed now that we're going to be using that as the basis and looking, you know, as we come along with proposed amendments to that which are necessary for law, etc. But we were actually looking a little bit beyond that, because we were also looking at one is bringing the constitution up to date in legal terms, but secondly, there were some proposals as well to the current constitution which it would improve it. I mean, a couple of examples. There was one example was the ability of the council to invite bodies in and give report to the whole council. That was something new that people felt would make council much more democratic. And I also recall that there was a discussion about whether the members of the public should be able to ask direct questions to the leader, where there's sort of discussion around that. So those weren't legal changes, correct me if I'm wrong, those were things that we thought as a committee would make us a more democratic council. So I'm just hoping we don't rule those sort of
But my
things
view
out.
on it, this is today, is we tell the committee to go, so we have to go back, go through the current constitution and just leave it, any legal reasons, but update it and tick the box out, because we're not looking for anything else. That's how I see it myself. And I think, well, write a report, give us a slab of paper with all the report on it. We'll have to digest it, and we'll have to, because obviously that's what you want, is the information. We'll digest it, and then we'll have Q&As.
Chair, if you know, with regards to what Councillor Cox said, I think there needs to be some thought as to what's going on the agenda for subsequent meetings. I mean, if the committee wants to consider those issues again, then my colleagues and I can put material in front of the committee that will enable them to consider that. What I'm not prepared to do is come in here and try and defend a point of view on it. I will present the information to the committee neutrally, and the committee can decide what its recommendation.
So the committee discuss it, and they have to vote on what's in front of them.
Yes, we've got to get away from this against members on this committee.
I know it's a lot before, but I was sat here and I'm thinking to myself, there's a round table, there's still be two sides. And I'm afraid that's what I see it. It's like, it's quite frustrating, because I thought we'd be a positive community working towards the new constitution. And if we could come to be added, and options that we could inject and we could work with. But unfortunately, my feeling as the new chair is there's two sides. And there's not going to be much room for changing.
I would disagree with you there. I think we have worked extremely collegiately, if that's the right word.
Look, going by today, and that's all I vote
Well,
today. I think this is not been a constructive.
No, I agree, Chair, but I told you the reasons why I believe that there should have been discussions between us as elected members of before the meeting.
Thank you, Kevin, everything that would have been discussed.
No, we haven't.
Not by any stretch of imagination. Decisions have been made by this committee, but what I think we will be very wary of is the minutes going forward, because they will have to show votes, I think, on virtually everything.
Yeah.
Some things were decided by goodwill as we went through this rather long debate, and somebody mentioned outside bodies, and we did take a view on those things. There were questions to the leader, because if we go back quite a long time, there was a political move to get leaders' questions changed, which wasn't thought appropriate. And also a very unfortunate outcome came out of that because it was brought to this committee. The leaders could have agreed amongst themselves that they didn't hear this, and we would have rubber stamped it. You know, things come here and we left in, oh, what do they want? Because we have this question mark, is there are forums going on around us that we're not privy to. And if we don't get that information coming back to us, we will necessarily just say, oh, well, we've got to leave that there because we're not getting the full information. As I say, what happened to this leaders' meeting that's supposed to have happened? Our leader hasn't told us anything about it. Has your leader told you anything about it?
It's not that.
Chair, can I suggest if you wanted to close the meeting, the officers can leave at this juncture and you can have a discussion with the
Yeah.
other active members. Would that
I think, yeah, I think at the moment, I think really speaking, obviously, the agenda is on stop now. So do we go to the date of the next meeting, or because of the changes you want to revisit that first before confirming it?
Well, the next meeting's in the diary for the 10th of July.
Yeah, but what I mean is now, so we're going to stick to that, or do you want to review going back away what you've got to do? We'll take that.
We'll have a look at the forward work programme and we will make some suggestions to you, Chair, with regard to the agenda, and you can consult the committee on that if need be.
Yes.
Can I just ask Chair, please, on the forward work programme? Can we be conscious of acronyms? Because the LDBCC totally defeated Google. The only reference to the LDBCC that comes up if you Google is this meeting.
Like the acronym it.
Let's be conscious of those. Because
Valid point.
Local democracy and boundary commission. So it was the remuneration report from the IRP, but it's changed now.
So it's 10:47. So I would like to bring this meeting to a close because so we have to discuss. I would imagine, and we've got time restraints and important things to do. So what I'd like to do is thank the officers for attending today. Thanks for your input and thanks for your guidance. Committee, I'm happy to stay behind and have a chat. If that's what you want to do, no fighting. So thank you very much.
Chair.
And wait for the email.